Welcome back, everybody, to the Star Wars podcast, where we talk all things Marvel, Star Wars, and everything in between. Please take a moment to check our show notes to find our social media, merch, and more. Today, this is a Star Wars first, baby. We are recapping a video game, and that is the great Jedi Survivor in full spoiler details. So if you haven't seen the episode, I'm just reading the script. It's definitely not an episode. If you haven't played the game, get out now. And I'm here with one of our great Star Wars correspondents, none other than my brother, Jake O'Rear. Jake, how is it going?
I'm doing pretty fantastic. Excited to talk about the game. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, so you've I finished this game very quickly, and I guess I can go ahead and get my opinions up front here. And Jake, we talk a lot, like we've been gamers our whole lives, and in recent years, it's hard for me to get into video games, and it's also hard to say, did I love this so much because it's Star Wars or because it's truly just an impeccable game, or both. But I truly did love it, and I finished it very quickly, and I rushed you to finish it. Were you bothered that I rushed you to get this podcast out?
No. I definitely. So you mentioned having trouble, getting into games as of late, and I kind of experienced the same thing. I've felt fatigue over a lot of games, and it's hard to. I haven't finished a game in so long. And as much as I loved this, it was eating up a lot of my free time, and so I was towards like the last third of the game. I just kind of cut out the side stuff and just focused on the story, and I finished it. It's the first game I finished in so long, and I'm not afraid to say I love it because it's Star Wars.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, like, I feel like, people listening, there's a lot of different ways to play this game. So up front here, I want to talk about how we did play it. I believe both of us played on PC with controller. Jake, did you experience any technical issues at all through the experience?
I definitely did. Weirdly enough, in the latter half of it, there was a lot of frame rate drops and lagginess and freezing. In fact, there was one point where I tried to open the game and I was running through Kobo, and just about every 3 seconds, my game for a good 10 seconds. And so it took me about 15 minutes to get back to a save point just so I could close the game and figure out what was going wrong. Couple of crashes. As much as I love to play video games here and there, it's these PC releases as of late, they've been a nightmare. And
Yeah.
Star Wars is not safe.
No, and this is why I was reluctant to become a PC gamer, because stuff like this happens. And I will say, actually, for the most part, things went pretty well. I will say the first night I played it was a nightmare. So this is my mistake. Apparently, I didn't realize it would be a mistake, but I bought the game on Steam. So I buy the game on Steam, and it tells me that I have to play on Origin. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll just log into Origin. It was a whole thing. I didn't know my password, and I had to re-download the app. Finally get the app downloaded, and it opens up, and it says, we are now moving to the EA app. So I downloaded one app for it to tell me to go to a different app. So then I had to create a new EA account. It was really annoying. And then the game wouldn't start. And like there were some, I don't even know I can't remember what I did. I just followed some tips on Reddit, but I could not play for like the first 4 hours, and it was very frustrating. But after that, I will say, I think I first got in and I noticed a couple stutters, and I immediately turned my graphics down on the game because I was like, I'm going to go ahead and nip this in the bud. I don't want to experience any crashes. And after I did that, I didn't experience anything poor. I think I had one crash through, I don't know, my 16 hours of playing the game. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, I definitely pushed my PC to the limits with my graphics. I did set the I think it's called DLSS, to performance, or not performance, to balanced, so it would kind of bring down the resolution a bit but keep the frames good. And I kept a lot of my graphics on the highest possible detail. That definitely hindered me a bit in some areas, but other than, the big, like, a couple of crashes and some stutters, I never experienced anything game breaking like clipping through anything or, a weird glitch, something of that sorts.
Right. So we talked about like the technical way we played the game. I want to talk about like the in-game way we played. I've got two questions here. I want to know what difficulty you played on, and also your two stances that you tend to use the most, or maybe you just cycled through all of them.
Yeah, so I did Jedi Master, the second hardest. And boy did it feel like that sometimes. And this is coming from someone that played a good amount of Elden Ring and got pretty okay at that. I definitely felt the pain of Jedi Master towards the end. And as for lightsaber stances, I kind of cycled through blaster, dual wield, and double bladed, but towards the end I was just doing double bladed because once you upgraded that whole tree of the double bladed, I mean it was overpowered.
Yeah, I think I've got the same exact stances as you. That's kind of what I did. I didn't use the cross guard stance at all. I mean, I tried it a couple times. Like, no, this is not for me. Um,
Yeah, it was a pain to use.
yeah, it just didn't feel smooth by any means. And I kind of get what they're going for with like the big lancer type weapon, but like, I don't know, you know, Kylo Ren's lightsaber isn't like that. But
Yeah.
I will say though, I played on the second easiest difficulty because I'm the type that like I don't want to experience frustration when I'm playing video games. I want a challenge and like, oh, and especially like fighting games like this, like with enemies, like part of the game is like learning how to defeat the enemy, right? Like seeing what reactions they're gonna have that tell me what attack they're about to pull on me. Like some of that stuff I want, but like if I'm fighting a boss and I'm doing it like more than 4 times, I'm turning the difficulty down, and I will explain later on which ones I did that for. So I actually went to the easiest difficulty on some of them.
I wanted to do that with a couple of bosses, but I stood true. I the only time I ever turned down the difficulty was I went down from master to knight on one of the side bosses fights. I don't know if you ever fought the spawn of Ogdo, um,
The frog, right?
the frog
The
in the
damn
pit.
frog's back. Yeah.
I turned it down for one of my attempts, one of my many, 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 many attempts, and it I didn't feel good about it. I wanted to keep the challenge going, so I turned it right back up to master as soon as I died, and I eventually got him once I had like 9 stems.
Yeah, so again, I was on Padawan, and it did take me a couple tries, but that was not one I turned it down for. So, it was pretty easy on Padawan, and actually, it was the frog in the first game that made me realize I am not going to try too hard in this game because
Yeah.
that frog in the first one was like, this is too much.
I
Um,
I would contest, at least for me, that the frog in this one was much harder. And that's a fun little side thing if you didn't notice or if the audience didn't notice. It's called the Spawn of Ogdo, and the frog in the first game was Ogdo Bogdo. So this must have been its son.
there's like a family tree of these frog aliens. Jesus.
The Ogdo Bogdo
Yeah,
saga.
Uncle Ogbo is gonna be in the third one. Um, okay, so well, I want to ask you about this as well. There were a lot of improvements in this game from the first one, and I think that they basically just built on what the old game was. But I want to get your take on like what were some of the things that stood out that they added in this game that you appreciated from the first game.
um, I like the variety of lightsaber stances. I wasn't disappointed in the first game by any means. But it's like one of those things I didn't know I needed. As soon as I got like 5 different stances, I was like, oh, there's so many options and so many upgrades and so many possibilities. I really like that. It added a nice dynamic to each of the fights. And now some bosses and some enemies uh fought better against certain stances. That's something I really enjoyed about the game. And I really liked the, level of customization. Thank God. I will say that in Fallen Order, I was sick of the palm. I I really wore the jacket the whole time. I mean, I wore some of the cooler ponchos, but it's like towards the end of the game, and yeah, I wanted some variety, and thank God we got a ton of that in this one.
Yeah, like I'm all about like designing my character. I don't know how much I cared. Like I feel like there's like the longer hair that I really liked, and I kind of stuck with that most of the time. I don't know if I loved all the hairstyles, but like I liked the option to change that stuff. And yeah, again, all the customization stuff from customizing BD, which again, something I didn't focus on too much, but it was just a nice little touch. I was gonna ask you this a little later, but like do you have like a favorite fit? What's your Jedi Survivor fit? Did you hear me? I might have lagged.
Sorry, Michael, I think I lost you there.
Oh yeah, my internet is really crappy right now, but I will edit this out. I was gonna ask you. I actually had this later in my notes, but since we're talking about it now, I gotta know. Do you have like a favorite fit? What do you like to wear in Jedi Survivor?
Ooh, what a good question. I really liked the bomber fit, especially once you got some of the colors for that, even though the base one was really cool. I There was one I really looked for. I kept seeing in screenshots and I couldn't find it anywhere. I still have not found it. I think it's called the Commander. I had the pants for it. The pants were really cool, and I saw like the armor plates for the jacket piece, and I thought it was really sick. Could never find it. And there was one more I just kind of always wore, other than bomber, that's escaping me. But what about
I,
you? Did you have
yeah.
any favorites?
I like the bomber jacket. I think I do have the commander one you're talking about. It's got like pads and a cape. Or is that a different one? There's like two that are kind of similar.
It might. I don't know.
Okay, well, I will say I liked the Jedi pants. The Jedi pants paired well with a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
that's
also really liked the jacket you could buy at the Doma shop, and you can get like all the other pieces of the outfit elsewhere. But it kind of looked like this puffer vest with like a shoulder pad. That one
yeah,
was really sick.
yep. Um, I will say, as far as like lightsaber customization, I really like a lot of the colors. I like how they were doing the colors. You kind of get like a set of colors that like fit a certain theme. That was cool. And like they do have like some really like interesting, like crack graphic type, like shiny material that I really liked. But I don't know, like some of the parts, like I got so many parts, I was like, this is like the same as the last three I got. Like I feel like if we could do anything for the third game, I think they could improve on the lightsaber customization. Am I crazy?
I understand the complaint, but I felt like there were enough really cool pieces like emitters and pommels that I found uh so cool that they stood out. There were quite a few that was just like the emitter was just a circle, and there's like nothing special about it. But
Yeah,
there's one like I think it was called Justice that had like a blade, and
that's the only one I
Harmony. I really like
used.
that one.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
the one with the blade. That's the thing. I got the blade, and I was like, nothing else is cooler than this. So maybe that was my maybe I got the best one first, and that was the problem. Um, let's see what else. So another element that was added to the game that I don't know that I was obsessed with it, but it was kind of like a nice little break. There were these like challenges throughout the world. There were different things. There were like there you could do like boss fights. Like you would like be teleported into a world, and they would give you boss fights. And there was also the races. I don't know. Did you do the parkour race thing?
Some of those parkour ones kicked my ass.
They were hard.
They were so hard, and like they were not forgiving. There was no checkpoints, and so you would die halfway, like towards the end, once you like kind of learned about a new part of the course,
Mhm.
and then you have to like perfect each step, and you're not always doing the best. It was those parkours were so hard, but it was like some of the aftershock, like when I finally finished some of those parkours, were like better than some of the later boss fights.
Yeah, I was gonna say I felt like it was, I liked it more than some of the boss fights, and also, but here's my thing: like I spent like maybe 40 minutes on one of them, and I finally beat it. It was so rewarding, and like I got a skill point for it. I was like, Can you give me like a full outfit or a lightsaber or like I don't know, like some of
Yeah.
the reward balances. I was like, I don't know.
I don't know if you ever found it, but there was one like inside a Doma's shop after you beat the spawn of Ogdo.
Oh yeah,
I did not finish that one. I
I opened it
opened
up
it.
and left immediately
Yeah,
and never
I
went
gave it
back.
one shot, and I actually did not too bad. I got both of them down a third of their health, but I as soon as I died, I was like, yeah, I'm not going back to that.
Yeah. Another added element here were these like High Republic temples that you would find, and I will say those rewards are really nice because that would have like it would have a skill point, it would have a chest, and it would have a perk at the end, right? So you get like a lot for doing that. I just found them not to be as fun, and like sometimes
Yeah,
frustrating. I did like Google like solutions to some of them. I was like just standing in the room. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, it's not like necessarily fun figuring it out for me.
I really liked them. They were reminiscent of the what there was simple similar things in what is it, the Zelda game Breath of the Wild.
Okay, yeah.
Uh, the Breath of the Wild ones were a little more like complex and had to put a little more thought into them. Sometimes they were very reminiscent of that. So I had a lot of fun with those, but I can understand why how it could not be someone's cup of tea.
There was one where like you have I forget what it's called, like that goo that you have to burn with BD's thing. And I like
Yeah.
that's the like, worst way I could describe it. But um there's one you had to like bring it across the room and like bring it up a bridge, but you had to like step on the thing to activate the bridge and then run around to the top. And like I was just like, and I couldn't do it. Like, and I even that's when I like started Googling and I like that was when I spent like 20 minutes on it and then I just left. I was like, I'm not doing this.
I know exactly which one you're talking about, and that one was time consuming
Yes.
because like you'd burn one part and then you'd use that part to retrace your old steps to the next part, and
Mhm.
by the final time you're like coating the entire room in napalm and setting it
Yeah.
on fire.
Yeah, well said. Okay, let me ask you this. Do you have a favorite planet in this game?
Ooh, I really liked what was it, Novagaron, or was that what it was called? Like where where are we're getting into spoilers, right?
Yeah, we can spoil.
Where Bode's kind of secret hideout is for the
Okay.
Empire, and that was really cool. Like all the ice spires, you could like look out into the abyss, and all the ice spires are kind of intertwining and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool, but I also just liked Kobo. Kobo was pretty cool. It had really cool parts.
Hmm.
Um, the whole like sky part of Kobo with all the flying
Hmm.
uh, buildings, I guess,
Yeah.
arrays.
You know, when I first got on Kobo and like just kind of in that first like town area and like the farm and all that, I was like, this is really the start. Like, this is kind of lame, but there's so much variety on that planet. Like, even
Yeah.
there's tunnels, like you said, there's things in the sky. Like, you know, there's a lot going on there. I will say, you know, you start on Coruscant and you don't go back, but you know, I have been playing the game since beating it, trying to unlock chests and whatnot. So I took a trip back to Coruscant, and Coruscant is so cool. Like, it's so
Oh
unique and
yeah.
like just to be able to like walk around in that world, like I don't know, there's not as much to it as Kobo, but like I don't know, I needed more stuff like that.
Being in the underbelly of Coruscant brought like like a little tear to my eye, thinking about what we could have gotten in 1313. Um,
Yeah.
God rest that game.
Yep. Jeddah had a lot of running around. There's big open spaces and like big enemies everywhere that I like ATATs that I was not trying to fight
Yeah, I
or
found
whatever
it
they're
hard
called.
to explore Jeddah when I tried to because like it was just so vast. I know
Yeah.
I could use a map, but like I like to look around, see like, oh, there's a big thing over there. I can go probably go over there. But Jeddah was like, well, everything kind of looks the same.
You can like hop on those
Uh,
Salvador Dali animals and like
dude, those things were so weird. My friend was sitting in my room while I was playing it, and he looked over. He's like, "What the hell is that?" I was like, "It's a salamander dog, I guess."
salamander dog. I gotta say, since we're talking about the mounts, I hated the one on Kobo. And well, the reason I hated it was because there were a lot of obstacles where you had to jump off of it onto something, and I don't know why I struggled with that so much. Like he was supposed to give you a boost to get to higher elevations, and like I would like be sitting there like I would try it like 8 times, and I'm like, why is this so hard? Like I'm just trying to jump.
I never had trouble with that, so that might be
Okay.
user error.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Okay. Um, let's see here. Okay, so I definitely want to talk about like we're kind of moving into like more of the story stuff here, but there was a lot of like interesting characters. You're kind of Grease's bar. Like the whole thing is you're kind of like building it up, and you meet a lot of eclectic characters. I gotta say, there was one that's shined brighter than all the others for me, and it's this guy.
It was all just a misunderstanding.
Turgle was great. We were blessed with
You
the
turd.
character. I'll give you the chance to talk about your favorite characters, but that's number one for me for sure.
Yeah, Turgle was great. Turgle was a weirdo. I like Scuba Stev a lot.
Oh,
Uh,
listen, I hated his little spiels. Like every time you had to like find his fishing pond, and he like just I was like, get me out of here.
just the absolute most Scottish little fish you've ever seen in your life. And but we both have talked about it, and I think my favorite is the bounty hunter, like Cage, I think. The no-
Kaji or K, yeah, something like that.
yeah, the Nautilin bounty hunter. She is so freaking cool.
I follow the
I can't.
voice actress of that bounty hunter on Instagram. I shot a DM. I said we would love to talk to you about this role, and no response. But I'll
Oh,
be
rest in
barking up
peace.
that tree more.
Hell yeah.
Also,
Um,
just a little Easter egg. But when you go back to Coruscant, there's a wanted poster. Or I actually like all on a lot of the screens, you'll see it throughout the world. She apparently is very wanted on Coruscant.
dude, when you're first on Coruscant, I was running across a giant screen and saw a Nautilin face. I'm a big fan of that species. I think they're really sick. And I was like, man, I hope we see whoever this is, because this feels like an Easter egg, or it feels like a foreshadowing.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see who else. Oh, I gotta. I guess this is a big one. But what did you think about? And not even getting into like the twist of it all, but what did you think about the addition of Bode?
I liked Bode. I definitely got the vibes that he was. I was surprised about the big twist that comes along with Bode, but I didn't think he would go that far. I thought there was going to be a big like borderline friendship breaking argument, and they fix it up, because Bode was very much like not into the idea that Cal wanted to use Tanalore as like a base for the hidden path. Uh, so I definitely I sensed that there was going to be some tension, but not that like Bode was. I don't know if we want to jump into this, yes, but I didn't love the fact that Bode was a Jedi Survivor Imperial spy working as a double agent for the rebellion, helping Cal. He just felt like everything you can be in Star Wars in one.
Yeah, he's like Han Solo and Luke and Chewbacca, and
Yeah.
yeah, he's like everybody. Yeah, no. Here was. I'll tell you this. This was kind of my prediction while playing the game, and boy, was I wrong with where they were going with it. But I thought that I thought we were gonna have like a player's choice at the end as to whether or not you would be in a relationship with Marin or Bode. And I'll tell you why, because they have a lot of conversations where Bode is like, you got to be careful with Marin. And he's like really pushy about it almost seemed like, I'm like, dude, you have a crush on Cal. Like, I thought they were
Yeah.
going there.
I can kind of see that.
There's
I,
going to
I
be fan fictions and fan art. Like, it's a thing. It will happen.
110%. 110%. But also, there's also like fan art and fanfic of like Turgle and Grease. If there's characters,
No,
there will
no,
be.
absolutely not.
um,
Unacceptable.
I don't know if you had this in your notes, but this is something I wanted to bring up. In the first game, did you catch the vibe that Eno Cordova was dead?
Honestly, when I saw him in the second game, I did not know who he was. I did not remember his
Yeah.
character. So
Yeah.
I kind of got the vibes that like context clues told me, oh, he was in the last game, but I do not remember him.
Yeah. Do you remember him now?
I can't tell you anything about him from the first game.
So
I just know
like,
he's there.
he was BD's original master, and every time Cal went somewhere that he was told to, BD would show him a hologram of Cordova, and Cordova would be like, "This is where the Zepho once were. Now you got to go to Dathomir. Now you got to go back to Zepho. Now you got to go to Kashyyyk," and on and on and on. But Seer says a lot of things in the first game that made me think, "Oh man, was cool. He probably went out like a hero or something." But he just shows up on Jeddah, and you're like, "Oh, okay, cool. I'm glad to see you back." I don't know what Jedi didn't die, or what Jedi did die in Order 66 at this point, but it's good to see you back.
Yeah, no, there's well, Bode also, again, you touched on it. Yeah, there's just a lot of Jedi here. Let's talk about one of the like most surprising parts of the game for me, and this is actually when things really start ramping up. So I'll admit there was the first half of the game, like story-wise, I just wasn't that interested. Like it was just it was a lot of like going here to get this thing, and like I just wasn't invested. But there is this turn when Cal, where they switch from Cal to Seer, and then you fight Vader. And this is when the game like just heated up for me. And I loved all of this. I loved playing as Seer. I loved fighting Vader, even when I turned the difficulty down. What did you think about all of this?
Dude, Seer is a boss, and we had no idea. For someone that cut herself off from the Force for so long, she can mess with them. She was just cutting down troops. She collapsed an entire ceiling on like walkers and stuff. Playing as Seer was awesome, and fighting Vader was awesome. Did I see it coming? Of course. We're not going to get a Star Wars game without a good old fight with Vader. And that fight kicked my butt. I had to go take a breather at one point. Like it really took a good majority of my time. But I enjoyed it. I liked playing as Seer. It was a really cool sequence. That whole ambush on Jeddah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. And rip to Seer.
God, rest her soul.
Well, yeah, great woman. Gone too soon. So I'm sure I've told you, but I've got a crush on Marin. I get Cal here, okay.
Yeah.
So we haven't talked about Marin. I kind of want to get your takes on like Marin's like more strong than like a jet, like any Jedi. It almost seems like, as far as like magic abilities go. I think one of my favorite moments is they're fighting that like drill thing, and it's the first time you go flying with her, and that was such a fun sequence.
Oh yeah.
I'm kind of all over the place. What do you think about Mare and like seeing her back, or
It was
Marin?
cool. It was cool to see. I love Marin. I love Night Sisters and Night Sister magic, and how we don't know a ton about it. You tell me which novel talks about that, I'm gonna read it in a heartbeat, because I'm so interested in that whole culture and what they're all about, and that magic and where that kind of stems from. Because we know so much about the Force, but like, is that magic like based in the Force? Like, what we know so little about it. Maybe we do. Maybe we know more than I'm putting on. But anyway, yeah, that whole drill sequence was really cool. I've heard some people complain about that wasn't very Star Wars. And I was like, and this will upset people, but it felt very sequel vibes to me. And this is coming from someone that loves the sequels and loves when Star Wars tries something new and quirky. Uh, I thought it was a really sick sequence. I love Marin being back. I love Cal and Marin together. You know, it feels like the obvious ship, but you know, sometimes that's what you need. You need the obvious ship.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to those haters because, like, I don't know. For me, Star Wars is like exploring new worlds and new characters and new races and droids and powers and like at a certain point, you know, when we're so many people complain about being stuck in like the rebel era of Star Wars and like not exploring anything else, you know, that's kind of how it feels to me if we're not like taking chances and like figuring out about different cultures and like, okay, maybe the Jedi aren't all that. Maybe there are other beings out there that are at least equally as powerful. And yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it was sick. Um, how overall we can get into specifics of characters and stuff. What was how did you feel about like the strong connection to the High Republic in this whole game?
I like it. You know, I've dabbled in the High Republic just a little bit. I read that first book, and you know, I love that. That's kind of where we're going with things like the Acolyte coming up, and like this was kind of like dipping our toe in the water. I asked you about this because I was like, for me, I was just concerned that I was missing out on stuff. I was like, am I supposed to know who these characters are? It sounds like we weren't. But no, I loved all this. I loved. We haven't even mentioned like you know, the main villain. I completely forget his name, but our one-armed buddy who like he is so cool and like how when he's fighting, like his missing arm still has the force. That is so cool.
Yeah, Dagon Gera. I liked him a lot. I did some double checking. You asked me if we've seen any of these characters before, and I don't think so. I think we get some light kind of hints that Ravis was a Nihil, which is kind of the main villain of the first phase of the High Republic books. And I loved it all. There was so much that like I was learning even after the game or like putting together that like Kobo's moon exploding is due to this like giant uh event in the first book and how the Nihil got the Tanalors because they basically have special ships with a special attribute that I won't spoil that can guide them through like hyperspace lanes unknown, and that's how they got to Tanalor. They went around. I love the whole connections. I love seeing kind of like a look at what a High Republic droid looked like through Z. I'm a big High Republic stan, so I was a big fan of all of this.
Yeah, no, well said. And I feel like, you know, for me, like somebody who's not totally tapped in, it worked for me like as a High Republic casual, and it worked for you as like a High Republic, somebody who's reading all the High Republic stuff. So no, that very cool. Let's see. Do we want to? I guess we can talk more. I kind of said we talk about it later, but we can talk about it now. Do we want to talk more about like the actual Bode being a villain, Bo's daughter? I think that something we could definitely talk about. I love how Cal and Marin kind of adopts her, and like also like I just imagine now like this character is going to be such a bad like this character is going to learn this character's gonna have the force and also Marin's powers. Like I foresee like great things from this little girl. She's got great parents.
True, true. I didn't really think about that aspect, but Kata is going to be really cool. I there was a the ongoing theme of Survivor was being a survivor and like what that looked like and how that manifested in different people. Um, and I get it. I feel like having Bode be another survivor of Order 6 was it. I just think it could have been handled better. Um, I don't love that like you figure everything out all at once and it hits you and then like you jump straight into a fight scene and it feels like the whole like last couple planets move at breakneck pace, but tangenting, sorry. back to Kata. I'm excited to see what they do. I'm excited to see what they do in the third game in general. We have a lot to tackle with Cal being, dabbling in the dark side and struggling with that. Now he doesn't have Seer, he doesn't have Eno to kind of guide him in the right direction. Like, what is this going to look like? How far is he going to struggle? How far will he fall? How will he come back? A lot of questions are being raised.
That kind of makes me worried about the future of Cal. And like we kind of see like the downfall of like his team a little bit, but like there is a lot of conversation about like we're gonna take down the Empire, and it's like they don't end up taking down the Empire. So what
Yeah.
happened to you guys? And that's kind of like a very dark thought going into a possible third game.
Mhm. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I trust. Um, we got a great first game. We got a debatably better second game. Uh, but yeah, I definitely I'm calling it now. I'm gonna see a downfall arc, or at least the death of Cal in the next game.
I got a theory as well, and this is gonna be there's a lot of rumor about upcoming Star Wars movies. A big one is the Mandoverse, and if this Mandoverse is truly an Avengers level movie, I
Oh
could see Cal
man,
coming into that, but also dying in that. I think a lot of people have expected to see uh, Cameron Moynihan come into live action at some point, and I think that's where it could happen.
that's true. I didn't really think about that. That'd definitely be a good spot to fit him in, live action wise. A lot of people wanted him to show up elsewhere, and I think holding off until the Avengers level, New Republic era, but I feel like we definitely need to set the game post Empire because that can be a far jump from Survivor till then, or at least like if we're doing this 5-year gaps, it'll be 15 years post Revenge of the Sith. I feel like that's a rather large jump from then until.
That's a good point I didn't consider. But they've made big jumps before with some Clone Wars characters, so
True.
uh, we'll see. We'll see.
Bo-Katan is supposed to be like 60.
Yeah, exactly. uh, okay, well, I'll be honest. I've hit the end of. Oh, I have one more note, and we'll get to if you have anything else left to touch on. But I gotta ask the Rancor. It was a big deal. A lot of people were talking about the Rancor. What was it like fighting a Rancor for you?
It kicks my butt. Kicks my butt really hard. It was one of those ones. Since it was a side boss, I definitely left and came back a few times with more stems and more stances. Took me a long time, and I found. First off, I didn't know there was a Rancor in the game, and
Oh,
so when I
okay. It's in
when
the
I found
marketing a lot, so good thing you didn't watch trailers or anything like that.
yeah, when I found him, I was like, "Oh crap, this is awesome. Let's take him on." Eventually beat him. I was like, "Whew, that was awesome. Legendary beast defeated. I'm not gonna have to deal with that again." I found a second one, and I have not gone back. I won't. I have yet to go back. There's too much trauma associated.
Now, one was I feel like I found them out of order because I feel like one is harder than the other one. There's one in the cave, and that was the one I fought second. And it took me about five. Again, I'm on Padawan, so it's not that impressive. But I beat it in about 5 or 6 tries. And I didn't have to turn the difficulty down on that one. It was basically like just stay, like hit it every once in a while and stay away because it'll one shot you.
Oh yeah, yeah, and kind of my tactic with a lot of bosses was to go in with at least one of my stances being blaster stance,
Oh yeah.
unload power shots into it, and use as many lightsaber throws as I can. Pick up my kind of where I died last, and so my blaster shots and lightsaber throws would be refilled, and so that it'll easy take it down to half health. Um, I perfected that strategy with Ogdo. Goddamn.
um All right, what else? Do you have anything else you want to touch on? I mean, there's such a big game, and I feel like we hit on a lot of the high points, but what else?
Yeah. I think I hit all the points I wanted to. Oh, we're so past it, but what do you think of the game opening with the ninth sister? Or yeah, ninth sister, and you just like decapitating her and like
I
it,
completely
it
forgot about that because it is like, yeah, that's like the first thing you do, basically.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I was shocked that she was alive. But
Mhm.
it was a good way to open the game because like that was a big boss in the first game, and it's like now this is your first boss, so things are gonna get more interesting after this. So I liked it.
It kind of solidified like this game is not so much about the empire as it is about like fighting your own kind.
Yeah. Um, Let me ask you this: what was your least favorite enemy type? Because I've got one.
Oh, towards the end of the game, I really hated those sentry droids slash dark troopers.
Mm.
Um, once you cut off their arms, they just did this power stomp that you could only dodge out of, and if you get close enough, that's all they're doing, and they'll do it over and over and over again. I saw it do 4 times in a row once.
Yeah, I think that was a benefit. That was one of the characters that was probably significantly nerfed in the bad one because I didn't have too much. Like they had a lot of health, but like I didn't have a whole lot. I just had to keep at it, and they would go away. But my least favorite might shock you. It's the little fucking birds on Kobo.
Dude, those things are the worst.
They charge you, and there's no block. You can't block it. It's a non-blockable attack. And if you see one, you kill it immediately, or you're getting charged and knocked on your ass, and it like takes 2 whole seconds to get back up.
Whenever you like stumble upon a little alcove and there's like 5 of them, I probably ran away a good couple times finding those because I'm just not. I don't care if there's a chest in there. I'm not dealing with all that.
It's so annoying. Um, okay, well, actually, here's another thing we didn't talk about. What about like some of the force powers? I think I really did. I probably ended up using the I don't know, Jedi mind trick. What was it called? The
Oh yeah,
confusion.
the confusion.
Yeah. Oh, did you have any favorite force powers?
I don't think I used confusion more than twice in the game. I did like the force lift a lot. That helped with like big groups of enemies because you could lift them up and get a free strike in with each of them, especially when you had to upgrade and keep them up there longer. Um, there's something about the force pool, and this is from the first game, but something about the force pool and grabbing them and stabbing them that was never not satisfying in my main move against the flame troopers because that's another one. Fuck those
Oh
guys.
yeah, they're the worst. No, there's one raider enemy type that like throws a staff in the ground so you can't pull him. Those always piss me off. I think
Yeah.
my favorite is just a good old fashioned force push off a cliff. Like that never got old to me.
Yeah.
So I will say the confusion gets really good, and I didn't use it a whole lot, but I did it at the end. But like if there's like a bigger enemy and you can unlock confusion for like that enemy type, it's way more useful then.
I will say I lost what I was gonna say.
So be it.
Oh well.
Okay, what else?
I don't know.
I think
I
I think
I
that
thoroughly enjoyed the game. It was a blast from head to toe. A lot of cool moments, and I'm thoroughly looking forward to the third installment. Which there's no way we're not getting that right. It's not been
yeah,
confirmed, but like, come on,
it has to be a trilogy for sure.
of course.
Um, okay, Jake. Well, thank you for doing this. Do you want to do some recommendations? I know you're watching something new. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. It's probably I'm definitely not the first to recommend this on this podcast, and I am very late to starting this, but better late than never. I've started Succession. I'm only about 3 episodes in, but I'm really enjoying it. The writing is really good. I really like the characters, and that's weird to say about like the most hateable characters in all of TV. I just like how they like talk to each other. The dialogue is really smart, and the acting is really. I I don't have the technical terms for it, but I really enjoy the writing of the show. You know, there's not too much at stake. I kind of hope for the downfall of these characters, so there's a benefit there. Uh, but the acting and writing really fun in Succession.
Yeah, it is definitely interesting. I'm very glad that you're on it. So there's some of the greatest moments in TV history in the show. I'll put it that way. That
Oh, cool.
you'll be very excited for. So I'll leave it at that, in my opinion. Um, let's see. What do I have to recommend? Here's a new one. I mean, obviously I'm not sponsored, but like, a lot of streamers are, so I have to say that up front. Um, guys, I love G Fuel now. I've dropped all energy drinks and coffee. I love G. It makes me feel better. Like, there's some side effects to coffee that I don't necessarily like. It gives you no jitters. It's just a powder you put into water, so it feels more hydrating as well. Oh man, guys, check out G Fuel. It's fun. Use my code. Just kidding.
Yeah, I was a big G Fuel guy, but I ran out of a little powder thing, and I just haven't gone back for some reason. I will say I'm a big Celsius guy.
Ah, Celsius. Yeah,
Um,
I went to the gas station one, like this was back when I was doing energy drinks, and I got a Monster, and like the cashier was like upset that I wasn't getting Celsius, and it was almost like his boss had told him to sell it,
yeah,
and he was like really like, you got to get one of these, but
that's
just have
quite
one.
literally that's quite literally how I got into Celsius. Is the cashier was like, "You should try Celsius," and I was like, "All right, whatever, I'll fall for it." And it's the same thing. I don't think it's any jitters. Um, it's nice clean energy. It's a lot of energy, but it's like I think it's natural, quote unquote. I don't know anything about ingredients, so it could be just as terrible as a Monster or Red Bull, but I feel better because I read the word natural on the can and I drink it in about 3 seconds and feel great.
Uh, so not I won't dox us, but it was at the gas station right by your house,
Closer to the interstate or the other side?
the other side.
Uh, no, but they will try to upsell me. They'll try to make me buy multiple.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that guy. That's what they tried to get me there. All right,
I know exactly what guy you're talking about.
yeah, you got long hair. Okay, Jake. Again, thank you so much for doing this. I want to give you the chance to tell people where they can find you online and anything else you're up to.
Yeah, absolutely. The only social media I'm really active on is my Instagram, and I just changed that to Jacob the Snakeub with dots in between words, and Snakeub spelled Snakeub. I'm sure there's a better way I can explain that that doesn't take 15 seconds. But you can find me there if you want to talk Jedi Survivor. Hit my line.
All right. Again, thank you for doing this. I am going to close this out here. I like to remind you guys to rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify, preferably 5 stars. Also, please subscribe because we're going to be here every single week. And guess what, guys? There's no Star Wars or Marvel shows out right now, so we're gonna be creative with some of the content we're coming out. Obviously, we're talking about a video game this week. We're gonna have other interesting things coming up, some movies coming out that maybe we wouldn't typically talk about, but I'll just leave that as a little tease for you guys. But if you subscribe, you'll get all that stuff instantly. It's super convenient. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Star Wars Pod, and we also have a little Discord community going on. So if that's something you're interested in, you can hit us up, and we will get you in there. But that is all we got for you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. I had to do